Common Council meeting for July 27th, 2020. Have the invocation led by Pastor Philip Locke. All rise.
Times sure are different when you can come to City Hall and see so many people in masks and nobody asks any questions, right? Let's pray and ask God's blessings on your time this evening, and thank you for your service. Dear Lord, ruler of us all, we give you thanks for the blessings you have so richly given our nation for over 200 years. We're especially grateful for living in a nation where we can worship you as we please. In this time of partisan politics, we pray that you would heal our nation by causing us to focus on the things that unite us instead of the things that divide us. Make us, as your people, more mature through your words so we realize that others who hold different political views from ours are not necessarily wrong or evil. And regardless of the outcome of the elections, we praise your name, O Lord, Lord of the nations, for the fact that we do not have to be fearful of our government, because we, the people, are the government. We pray, Lord, that you would bless our mayor, our citizens, as well as all public servants. Guide them in integrity as they serve our community. Bless all administrators, school boards and staff, teachers, parents, and students as schools seek to reopen soon. And Lord, we pray that you would restrain this pandemic and keep us safe. Bless these proceedings tonight with understanding, wisdom, and unity for the common service of your people. Bless our dear country and our city for Jesus' sake. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor.
Thank you.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. For those of you that haven't noticed, Darren Bowes is being filled in for by Miss Linda Machino. Thank you, Linda. And on that note, I'll let you do roll call.
Mr. Story.
Here.
Mr. Cunningham.
Here.
Mr. Wheeler.
Here.
Mr. Hackney.
Here.
Mr. Hubbard. Mr. Davidson.
Here.
Mr. Early.
Here. Thank you very much. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes of the previous meeting? If so, I would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, motion carries. Jump right into reports from committees, boards, and commissions. Linda?
Mr. Story.
No.
Mr. Cunningham.
No.
Mr. Wheeler.
Yes. This comes from the retail development. We have been looking at the downtown parking situation. We're looking at our recommendation as we're going to continue to work with Main Street and the Chamber of Commerce to help get out social media on informing where parking lots are at, especially. We are looking to have continued enforcement like we've had with the parking meter or attendant. We are discussing changing the parking lots to be either color-coded or give them a number or a letter, something that they can find easily and they can be marked easily on a map. The last thing that we're looking at is we would like to increase the parking fines from $3 to $10. Any questions?
Matt, to add what you talked about, there was an open forum that was pretty well attended.
Yes, it was. We
And,
had a lot of good input during that time. We had a lot of citizens give their concerns. There was basically what we were told is right now with the pandemic that parking has not been bad, and actually with the enforcement that it's been better. So that's why we didn't want to take too big a jumps, just to see how this works out with raising the fines.
So are you wanting to try all those changes at once, or are you wanting to do part of them and then more, or what's your...
I believe we want to go ahead and do the fines right now, Like I said, we're gonna continue to work with Main Street and with the chamber, just so that we can get more of the social media out of where parking is available. As far as coding the parking lots, that's something that we can look into
To be
later
determined.
on.
Okay. We will send that to Chris to write up, and then you guys can vote on it.
Yeah.
Next meeting, probably?
Yep, it'll be ready for them. Matt, I do have a question for you. I don't know if you discussed in your committee with the $10 fine, are you wanting it to be $10 the day of and then an increased, fine if they pay after that, the day of, like it is now, or are you wanting it to be? a
That
fine?
wasn't something that we discussed.
Okay.
Um,
Do you just want to get back to me
Yes.
later, or? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
it'll either be me or Chad.
Okay, I'll get started on that then.
Okay, fantastic.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Hackney?
No.
Okay,
Sorry.
Mr. Davidson?
I do. I have a statement of benefits for Thormax Properties LLC, one real estate, one personal property. I believe Mr. Plump and Mr. Whittemore are here to speak on that.
Yeah, Chad Whittemore is here representing Thormax. You have two statement of benefits, one for real property, one for personal property. The real property, it would be the construction of a 20,000 square foot building. The company is currently located at 101 West Laurel Street, and the 20,000 square foot building is estimated at $500,000. That would allow them to retain their current number of employees of 4 and add double that to additional 8 people. The project would start sometime after August 1st and hopefully would be completed by October the 1st. Along with the investment in the new building, the company is looking at an investment of $224,000 in manufacturing equipment. The manufacturing equipment would come obviously after the building was started, so a start date on that of 9/1 with a completion before the end of the year. And I think council also has a list of the equipment that the company intends to purchase. We would request 10-year abatement on both real and personal property. And Chad is here to answer any questions council might have. Thank you.
Chad, what kind of work are you going to be doing there?
We're doing mostly secondary operations on steel tube. We've been in there, do a little bit of warehousing on some components for satellite dishes and satellite installs, but mostly going to be doing some bending and squeezing, flattening stuff on steel tubing.
Do you have any other questions from the council?
No.
All right. Do you have any questions from the audience? All right. Seeing none, I'll ask we approve the statement of benefits.
Second.
Mr. Story?
Yes.
Mr. Kettingham?
Yes.
Mr. Wheeler?
Yes.
Mr. Hackney?
Yes.
Mr. Davidson?
Yes.
Mr. Early?
Yes.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chad.
I have nothing further.
Mr. Early?
No, nothing for me.
Looks like we have no public hearings. Move right into old business. Back to you, Linda.
Mr. Story?
No.
Mr. Cunningham?
No.
Mr. Wheeler?
No.
Mr. Hackney?
No.
Mr. Davidson?
No.
Mr. Early?
I think I do.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, I'd like to have the second reading of ordinance 18, Council Bill number 36. Be read by title only, please.
Second.
Mr. Story?
Yes.
Mr. Cunningham?
Yes.
Mr. Wheeler?
Yes.
Mr. Hackney?
Yes.
Mr. Davidson?
Yes.
Mr. Early?
Yes.
Ordinance number 18, Council Bill number 36, an ordinance amending Chapter 75, Schedule 1 of the Seymour City Code.
Okay, Beth was here last week to explain, or 2 weeks ago, I guess, to explain this. This is basically aligning, C Avenue, starting,
You want to say parking by Valio?
I'm sorry,
You want to say parking by Valio?
parking by Valio, basically. We had some problems there, parking in the grass, and this is to align that, to keep that as far as any kind of emergency vehicles would need to go through there. And it's keeping them off the grass, and like I say, we can, there's parking, there are other parking available, so it's just gotten to be a habit, so we're taking care of this to alleviate that problem. Any questions from the audience, or from the council?
David, I do see on here, I found it in my computer, it says starting at E Avenue West and then south a distance of 280 feet.
280 feet, correct.
Okay.
Yes, yes. Any questions from the audience? Hearing none, I'd ask that ordinance 18, Council Bill number 36, pass second reading.
A second.
Mr. Story?
Yes.
Mr. Cunningham?
Yes.
Mr. Wheeler?
Yes.
Mr. Hackney?
Yes.
Mr. Davidson?
Yes.
Mr. Early?
Yes.
Looks like ordinance number 18, Council Bill number 36, passes second reading at 7:11 on July 27th.
Nothing else for me.
Okay, we'll jump right into new business then.
Mr. Story?
A lot.
Well said.
I'm gonna ask you to, for first reading of ordinance number 19, Council Bill 38, which is Emerson. Do I have a second?
Oh, second.
Everybody was already studying.
Mr. Story?
Yes.
Mr. Cunningham?
Yes.
Mr. Wheeler?
Yes.
Mr. Hackney?
Yes.
Mr. Davidson?
Yes.
Mr. Early?
Yes.
Ordinance number 19, Council Bill number 38, an ordinance amending Chapter 75, Schedule 1 of the Seymour City Code, no parking on Fifth Street between Elm Street and Emerson Drive.
Yeah, so this one is on at Emerson School, the site at Emerson School. Keith came to us last council meeting and had recommended and asked that our committee consider no parking on Elm Street. After a committee meeting, which included Keith there and Chad Dixon was with us as well, what we sort of discussed is actually moving that queue. We really thought that there was a lot of risk on moving the queue to Elm Street, which essentially the back of queue would be as close to State Road 258 or 6th Street, and we kind of felt like that was much higher risk than taking the queue and moving it onto 5th Street, which would be straight line of sight improvement as well. The second block to the east of Elm Street is essentially vacant property, which has very little impact to parking. So there would be no parking with the exception of what is on 5th Street at Emerson, at the block between Emerson and Elm. Chris?
Which is the school block, correct?
The school block. Yeah.
Okay, so just be by the school.
There's also a small component that we would hope that the city could kind of buy into, would be some outreach to the 8 properties that might be affected. I actually met with Brandon Harp and superintendent of the schools and asked that the school also take a sort of a concentrated effort on being progressive to reach out to those homes, letting those homes know that there's going to be some inconvenience during that time. So, Mayor, we kind of felt like kind of taking the two-prong approach might be helpful to see that we're really trying to be good partners with the neighbors as well. But Chris, do you have anything to add to this one?
No, luckily started with the easy one.
I know. Any questions from council? So I'll open it up to public. Sweet.
Drew, is this on the north side only?
We already closed it, sorry. No, I'm sorry. This
The north side only?
this is on the south side of,
North side of 5th Street, yes,
Fifth-
south side of
the
Emerson
south
School.
side, right? Okay.
yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry, yeah, thanks.
What would you want to say, what would you like to see that the city side for us,
You know, we kind of felt like just some communication to those folks. I don't want to, I don't want to suspect that a door hanger is enough, but maybe a knock on the door would be helpful. I don't know that the city can accommodate that, but, you know, our thought was just that personal kind of touch might be helpful to sort of curb the enthusiasm. No pun intended. Curb, you guys get that? Okay. So, if there are no other questions, I'd make a motion to approve this on first reading.
Second.
Mr. Story?
Yes.
Mr. Cunningham?
Yes.
Mr. Wheeler?
Yes.
Mr. Hackney?
Yes.
Mr. Davidson?
Yes.
Mr. Early?
Yes.
Chris, can I suspend, is now the time to ask for suspension of rules for this one? So I'd make a motion that we suspend rules to take a second reading here, Mayor?
Okay.
Guys,
Gonna do a roll call count to get approval.
Mr.
Well, you gotta have a motion and a second.
I'll second.
So we have a motion and a second. Now you have Linda.
Mr. Story?
Yes.
Mr. Cunningham?
Yes.
Mr. Wheeler?
Yes.
Mr. Hackney?
Yes.
Mr. Davidson?
Yes.
Mr. Early?
Yes.
So really, there's no second reading, right? We've read it.
You still gotta go through the process.
Do I
Okay.
gotta?
Yeah,
Got it.
so somebody needs to ask for a second reading
Okay.
by title only.
Okay.
I know, it's redundant.
So I make a motion for, or no, yeah, I make a motion for second reading of ordinance number 18, ordinance number 19, Council Bill number 38, by title only.
Mr. Story?
Yes?
Mr. Cunningham?
Yes.
Mr. Wheeler?
Yes.
Mr. Hackney?
Yes.
Mr. Davidson?
Yes.
Mr. Early?
Yes.
Ordinance number 19, Council Bill number 38. An ordinance amending Chapter 75, Schedule 1 of the Seymour City Code, no parking on Fifth Street between Elm Street and Emerson Drive.
Any questions from council? No. Any questions from the public?
About.
Ordinance number 19, Council Bill
The
number
one
38.
she just read, Dave?
Second time through.
If there are no questions or comments, yes?
Mr. Story, is that during specific hours, or is that just no parking period?
That is no parking, period. No other questions, and I make a motion to approve ordinance number 19, Council Bill number 38 on second reading.
Second.
Mr. Story?
Yes?
Mr. Cunningham?
Yes.
Mr. Wheeler?
Yes.
Mr. Hackney? Mr.
Yes.
Davidson? Mr. Early?
Yes.
Yes.
Quick.
Linda
Thank
is
you.
on it.
Um,
Okay, hang on a second, Drew.
Sure.
Ordinance number 19, Council Bill number 38, passes second reading at 7:18, and is signed by me, the mayor. Okay, now you're.
Can I ask that ordinance number 20, Council Bill number 39, be read on first reading?
Mr. Story?
Second.
Looking for a second,
Oh.
yeah. Yes.
Okay. Mr. Story?
Yes.
Mr. Cunningham?
Yes.
Mr. Wheeler?
Yes.
Mr. Hackney?
Yes.
Mr. Davidson?
Yes.
Mr. Early?
Yes.
Okay, Ordinance 20, Council Bill number 39, an ordinance to amend Chapter 74, Schedule 3, Table B of the Seymour City Code.
We'll start off with this easy, fun one here. So this is Brown School. Brown School's layout, the school corporation's layout for their modified pickup and drop-off would be, the school plans to create a private drive from the, let me think, from the southwest corner, which dumps out onto,
Is that Marley?
Corner of Marley and Brown.
thanks, Marley and Brown. And in this case, it is dumped into a controlled intersection. The controlled intersection currently is a two-way stop sign. And what our committee had asked for here was to modify that intersection from a two-way to a three-way, though it is a private drive. Do I have any questions from council? Questions from the audience?
I have a few concerns with that. State law already requires private drives to stop at a through highway, which that is a through highway. Liability, no matter what, if you put a stop sign there, people are gonna stop anyway. But if you have an accident in that intersection leaving Brown School, you are always at fault. I mean, your liability is there. And then my next problem is I think when you add private drive, what's gonna stop the next business down the street that's at an intersection to request a stop sign? Now, the hospital has a stop sign coming out. I don't think that's controlled by the city. They're at Brown Street and,
Correct.
what do you call it? There's a four-way stop there, but I think it's only a three-way by law.
Brown and Poplar.
And there's no problem with putting the stop sign by the school and just not having it city ordinance.
Chris?
Assistant Chief O'Brien, it is correct. If we go the ordinance route, state law permits the city to install stop signs on private drives so long as we have a contract with the owner of that private property that spells out the roles and responsibilities of both parties. Basically, who's responsible installing and maintaining, repairing the stop sign. And that would in turn give the city enforcement powers over that stop sign. So you've got that route. The school corporation could put their own stop sign, and like Assistant Chief O'Brien was saying, there's no enforcement powers, but it's a reminder at least to folks to stop. And then there's the third option of not putting any stop sign at all and relying on the state law. When you are exiting a private drive, you stop and yield to traffic from the other directions. So there is a way. State law does permit us to pass an ordinance to install a stop sign on private property, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah, that's helpful. And so it's also helpful to know that it's not necessarily required in this intersection. Hearing that explanation, Assistant Chief, what are your thoughts?
I would put a stop sign there. I mean, they're gonna have to stop anyway by state law.
Yeah,
And just like at the hospital, it's a freeway stop, but there's actually 4 stop signs right there, one in each net. And, you know, when people see a stop sign, they just,
yeah.
it's gonna go around the loop. So, I mean, I think you're opening up what's gonna stop some other business saying, hey, I'd like a stop sign on Meadowbrook Drive at Home Depot and Walmart. What's gonna stop them from coming to you or some other business? That's where I think you open up the can.
Yeah, and I sort of suspected that might be the case, and I think the good news is, like this case, it's something that, I mean, it's one instance that we get to sort of vet. And not all instances are sort of built the same, which it sounds like state law allows for a lot of leeway for council to sort of decide. Nonetheless, it sounds like we all agree that a stop sign needs to be there. It's whether or not the city should maintain that stop sign or not. Keith?
The only input that I would have, and I totally agree with the Assistant Chief, he's exactly right on that. But the reason that this is a special circumstance is you're going to be putting several hundred children through there at once, twice a day.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be your response to anybody saying, well, why do they get to do it and we don't?
Sure, I understand that. But it does sound like if there is a stop sign that is placed by the school corporation, that it's still enforceable by law. Is that correct?
Yes, because you have to stop when you're coming from a private drive.
Okay.
So it's still enforceable, so I don't know the advantage to do it.
Okay. I hate to play tennis here, but Chris?
I agree.
Okay. Questions from council?
So much saying is we really don't need an ordinance for this,
That's what I hear.
just to go through, and I think that's fine.
So we're just going to do the curb cut, put in the driveway, the school's going to do that, correct?
Yes.
And we're gonna put up stop signs.
someone is.
Somewhere.
Okay. The school can do it just as easy.
Keith, are you willing to install that stop sign?
Yes, we can, if that's the decision of the council, we can take care of the stop sign.
Well, then I'm gonna make a motion to, oh gosh,
Withdrawal or table?
withdrawal, I think, yeah.
Second.
Okay.
Second?
Motion and a second.
Mr. Story?
Yes.
Mr. Cunningham?
Yes.
Mr. Wheeler?
Yes.
Mr. Hackney?
Yes.
Mr. Davidson?
Yep.
Mr. Early?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, so I'm gonna ask that ordinance number 21, Council Bill number 40, be read by title only.
Second?
Mr. Story?
Yes.
Mr. Cunningham?
Yes.
Mr. Wheeler?
Yes.
Mr. Hackney?
Yes.
Mr. Davidson?
Yep.
Mr. Early?
Yes.
Ordinance number 21, Council Bill number 40. An ordinance to amend Chapter 74, Schedule 5 of the Seymour City Code and to close C Avenue East at 6th Avenue.
This is the Jackson School discussion here, and you have a drawing in front of you that may describe some of the requests, I think, from City Engineer Bernie Hausberger. Council, or excuse me, committee, Thoroughfare and Drainage Committee had discussed this, and the option that we discussed with Keith Williams from Seymour Community School was that we close C Avenue at the intersection of 6th Avenue and C Avenue intersection. That would restrict traffic heading, southbound on C Avenue past 6th Avenue. So really the only service that's being provided there from C Avenue is straight into the school parking lot. So there's been some more discussion and maybe some iterations of the ordinance that's been written here. And I think I might let Chris discuss that.
Go ahead, Chris.
He's throwing you under the bus, Chris.
Yeah.
Megan, you work for it.
Under the bus.
Can you repeat like the last
Not a bit.
90 seconds, the last 30 seconds?
Really?
Yes.
I had her distracted on something else.
So Chris, can you just talk to us about what the ordinance reads now?
Currently, we're on 20. Currently, as written, ordinance 21, Council Bill 40 calls for a permanent closure barrier to be placed across C Avenue East on the 6th Avenue, east side of 6th Avenue. And right turn only signs to be placed at C Avenue East and 6th Avenue as you're going eastbound C Avenue East onto 6th Avenue. And then conversely, a left turn only sign from 6th Avenue onto C Avenue East. So it essentially will close C Avenue East. I think that's White's Pizza, that building
Yeah.
there.
Gerger's Construction and
Okay, Gerger's
Mike's,
on the- on
White's
the
Pizza.
northwest corner, there'd be a permanent closure and traffic would be redirected onto 6th Avenue.
Yes, thanks. So this was what was originally discussed with School Corporation. It seemed like it was favorable for them as well. But Bernie had some thoughts about maybe modifying the traffic pattern.
For clarity, the ordinance right now is this drawing?
Is
No.
not.
That's, the drawing in front of you is turning it into a one-way instead of a closure,
Okay.
which is,
That's what
Bernie,
I
you want to
wouldn't-
speak about a one-way?
I wouldn't think, where's the closure at?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Just
Good afternoon.
just real quick, good evening, whatever. I have a real problem with just closing C Avenue because actually, that is the main really used street right now. Because Valio has so many employees that pull in and out of C Avenue. B Avenue, if you're not familiar with it, just goes up to another few blocks and tees, and it makes it a little difficult for everyone to come out of, if they're coming, especially from Valio, they're trying to sweep in and out through C Avenue as best they can. If you did close C Avenue, you're basically saying all that traffic comes down to B Avenue and turns and then heads west. And so you've got conflict points here where, yes, from Jackson School, they can get out onto C Avenue fairly easily, but then you're into this very harsh skew that makes it a little more hazardous for them to get out now, because now all the traffic is coming in front of them. So that was my issue, and I came up with this. This is just a real quick what if you did this scenario, and it's not, some of the signs aren't in perfect order here, so I still have some work to do if you wanted to go this direction, but that just shows you an example of making it a one-way westbound on C Avenue, then coming with a one-way, I'm going to call it southbound on 6th Avenue. Then, of course, that becomes a stop and no in or down at B Avenue. So if you need help understanding the sketch, I'm sorry, this is just a real quick version. I didn't want to spend a lot of time on it.
This is really good, though, really. This has been this is nicer to see than what we had when we met as a committee, so without a doubt, I appreciate that.
Well, thank you.
I do have a question, though, which is a drawing that you sent to us last week actually showed that the school corporation's private drive it gets extended to B Avenue in the Burkhart Boulevard project.
Yes.
And it shows on these plans that you sent that C Avenue is removed, pavement is removed from 6th Avenue all the way back out to B Avenue. Is that correct?
6th Avenue, from what I see on the plans, is the bypass runs just to the south of 6th Avenue. The right-of-way is in 6th Avenue,
Yeah,
but the actual road itself is pretty much in the ditch
right.
through there. So I think we could keep 6th Avenue open during construction. That would be the if you wanted to go this scenario, we'd make sure 6th Avenue stayed open during construction, and that would keep this scenario in play.
No,
Because while they build B Avenue, they're going to have C Avenue open, really. So
then why would 6th Avenue remain open?
I need to get I need to get traffic out of Jackson School, mainly.
But B would be closed?
Well, yeah, and if B's closed, you've got basically two roads right there to get them out besides Airport Road.
Okay. And so I'm going to go back to that then on C Avenue. C Avenue's pavement is being removed from 6th Avenue to B Avenue?
I think in the final product, 6th Avenue almost becomes a driveway for, a back driveway to Gurker construction. And it does have an access to B Avenue in the current bypass plan.
And again, the Seymour Community School private drive goes from where it's currently located that dumps out on C Avenue
And it comes straight across
to be right
to
through
B
that,
Avenue.
right through that gorge area there?
Unfortunately, it's got a septic system in it.
Okay, okay.
So I'd love to just cut that right now, but we have to wait until the septic system gets removed as part of the bypass.
But it does go out to B Avenue?
It does, yes. And then, I'll be honest with you, there's all kinds of scenarios we can look at with B Avenue once the bypass is in. If we have any kind of safety issue at all here, because I'm not sure how people are going to drive. Basically, they're going to have just a two-way stop at the bypass. I mean, the bypass is through. They're not going to stop. So you have some potential traffic issues or accident points here that may show up if B Avenue is the only way out of Freeman Field, this direction, other than the bypass.
It almost sounds like what you have drawn on this with the one-way on C, and then also a one-way on Sixth. In the future, if C Avenue did not get removed, then we could maintain that sort of one-way and would be a fantastic queuing scenario for the school, because they would be the only ones using it, both in
Exactly.
and out.
That
Is
would
that right?
be, it would be their road, other than if Gurker, I believe they're trying to move their offices here
They are.
to
And
somewhere else.
And on Drew's thought there, that'd be an extra 500 to 600 feet easy of queue space
I know,
post bypass.
yeah.
So
And could we relinquish that to the school?
there's several options we could go with once we get there. I mean, we're still a couple years from construction on bypass in that area is next year, but it'll be wrapped up early 2022. So.
I have a question too, Bernie. Coming out of the school's parking lot onto C Avenue, you're forcing the traffic to turn to the right, correct?
Well, that's correct.
Okay, so how far down, like if I wanted to go to the east side of town, how far down would I have to go before I cut back over to B to get out of there? Because I don't think you can make that corner there at Sixth Avenue.
Where the yellow is,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think we have a pretty good radius there for especially a small,
So that
small
won't-
bus could probably
Yeah,
take that
car,
pretty
I think
easy.
you'd be okay. You wouldn't
It's
be able
not
to
going to
semi.
be blocked off then?
No, it's, there are lane changes as you're
Okay.
coming on, each way. C would
Okay.
continue on, and school traffic could merge. Yes, Keith?
So then the traffic, if they wanted to go east, they would encounter eastbound traffic on C from Freeman Field, correct?
No.
Why not?
Yeah,
Not
C
eastbound
C Avenue does curl in together
Oh, yeah.
with the school. There's gonna, yeah, if the school's got this all backed up, people coming from Vallejo again would have to try to merge in with, and this is where, do you have nice, are people gonna be nice or not? I don't know.
Okay.
So you got about 100 feet coming out of the parking lot to then make the left, to merge into the left lane to come around onto Sixth Avenue? Is that about right, Bernie?
I think you have at least 100 feet, but it's obviously, it's not as long as I'd like. How about that? But that's
Yeah.
what you've got.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I think it's acceptable. Obviously, you have slow cars coming out of Jackson, and you got fast cars coming on C Avenue, but at least they're going the same direction. And we hope that, and they both have their own lane to start with. They should be able to jostle as they come through there.
Jostle, yes.
That's probably the wrong word,
I
so
love it, I love it.
let's let January update me and make me a better word.
I think you printed the paper just like he said it, January.
So looking at timing, when the school is dismissed, it's about, what, 3:20, something like that? So Vallejo and the factories down in there, are they dismissed at anywhere near that same time? I don't know.
It's hit and miss because there's been some schedule changes. Some of them have gone to 12-hour days, and I mean but yeah, there probably are some right around that same time.
Okay.
And pardon me, just for a second, I brought Tim Fosbrink, he's our Director of Transportation at the schools. So if you have anything that you're concerned about transportation, about busing, he does buses for multiple of the city schools, thousands of children every day. So he's here to answer any questions you have also.
Good, thanks.
Okay.
And with that corner you were talking about being tight, I can go through there with the bus any day.
Good.
Well, my concern on that though was that they were going to put some kind of riser in there to keep people from turning that way. So as long as there's not, yeah, they can make that corner, other than the oncoming traffic that they would encounter, so.
Is this only painted? I mean, is the goal just to be,
They're having their meeting.
hey Bernie, these small little gorge areas that you have drawn in here, are those just painted or are they raised curb or?
I think for now, we would just put a thermoplastic, just a real, maybe a double or triple layer of thermoplastic on there. There's all kinds of safety mechanisms we can put into place if, when we start kind of look, tell me that's what you want to do, and we'll come up with more of a final design. And well, there may even be some, like a rumble strip or something like that we could put in as you, just to make sure, I just want to make sure people don't get in their norm and stay close to the right lane and cruise right through our first island and rear end somebody. That's my goal, is to make sure that we.
And Bernie, I'd asked if you could give us kind of just a cost estimate on this. I think you said around between $3,000 and $4,000. Is that right?
I've actually
Mayor,
totally.
do you remember?
I think it felt like it was just a hair more, but it was close to that. I thought it was 3 to 5, but that's by memory.
Okay.
4,500.
Okay.
Okay, that sounds like
Wasn't
me.
a large impact?
Yeah, it wasn't huge compared to some things.
And if I'm hoping Chad's got enough paint in his supply, and signs that he could put this together for something maybe even less than that. I don't know.
Thanks, Bernie.
All right. Thank you.
I have just one question, just out of the blue. Instead of actually using this area here that goes down, that C, why don't we have all the traffic come out the left, head back this way, close off this area here?
I'm sorry, I don't say it again.
It's easier for me to show you than it is to. If you have your in and your out here, and you have your in and your out here, and just that out.
That's what we had proposed in
That was the first.
the original
Okay.
ordinance, yeah.
What they were gonna have, what they're saying is this
We're gonna have too
intersection
much.
will be gone
We're
during
gonna have
construction, so they would have to open C back up. So, that's kind of what we were led to originally until we saw,
Okay, all right,
were made aware of the closure during
Will school be
construction.
in session?
that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, because that's going to be a long piece of construction, so you're probably going to have some overlap somewhere.
All right. Well, council, you've heard our story here, and a couple different options. Are there any other questions or comments from the audience, public?
So I don't know if it's possible. If you go down to 4th Avenue,
Yeah,
go down another 2 blocks,
yeah.
there's already a stop sign southbound or northbound on 4th. If you put a 3-way there on C Avenue, you could shut down C Avenue at B Avenue now.
Okay.
Get the school to come out, and then they have a stop sign, so you'll have traffic going down B Avenue to 4th. They can turn left or right to go to A or C. There'll be a stop sign there, so you can control traffic coming off of C Avenue from the school. And then you don't have to paint all this stuff or anything else. You put a barricade up. When they need C Avenue back, when they get part of Burkhart done, because if you close down C Avenue, then you're going to have to come back to council to reopen it when they have the construction that they have to shut down the other stuff. But the street commissioner can shut down C Avenue because of construction, right? And move it down to a 3-way stop at 4th Avenue.
We would need that 3-way stop eventually anyhow,
Yeah.
because there's no doubt that.
And, O'Brien, did I hear you say right that we wouldn't even need an ordinance to close?
I don't think so. The street commissioner can shut down because of construction.
So can you shut down before construction?
A year before.
A year before construction?
But the construction's going on right now out there.
That's true.
I mean,
Not in that area, though.
Somewhere in Indiana.
All I heard was scapegoat.
That would be the thing, because you're gonna leave it temporary.
So that's the other side of it too. So actually 4th Avenue and C Avenue is a 4-way stop, or a 4-way intersection, so that'd be a 4-way stop. B Avenue and 4th Avenue is a 3-way. But you know that a lot of people are gonna find the path of least resistance on their way out. So if anything you change up here at C and 6th, people are going to naturally find the easiest way out. So a lot of them may be turning onto Fourth Avenue already to, or not already, but
Yeah. Just
to get
now.
over to B to get out of there quicker.
Yeah.
And I think that's, I would agree with the mayor. They're gonna find Fourth Avenue is where the stop signs are to get out.
Coming out of the factories.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because they already do now, because they don't wanna sit at C Avenue and B Avenue. They don't like sitting at that stop sign. So they'll go up there anyway.
Wow. And, you know, please keep in mind that we're trying to move as fast as we possibly can, if there is any ordinance necessary, so that the school has something figured out by August 10th, which is first day, is that right?
So I'm gonna play devil's advocate just a little bit. Chief, Greg, either one, can you guys tell us how many accidents in that intersection, or in that area in the last couple of years? I can't see your finger from here. One, thank you.
I think it was one.
Okay, and that one was actually at the intersection of B and C,
Yes.
And it was
going
a
eastbound.
rear end, not a,
Yeah, it was a rear end, not a T-bone. So that just throws a whole new mix in there for you of,
gosh darn it.
do you change the world? Because we know there will be more families. We know there's more queue space. I've been watching them build out there for the last week and a half or 2 weeks now. So the school's preparing to make more queue space on their property anyway.
Right.
So do you change everything? You know, so extra options for y'all to think about.
Yeah.
Nobody can see me smile. Hey, I like these guys.
You know, Bernie, you did some really good work here, drawing this up and really helping drive the discussion. But I like knowing that Chad can do what's necessary if we need to. And it seems like when we discussed this one specifically, Keith, we talked a lot about we may need to pull an audible from time to time on any of these issues that you're dealing with.
Yes.
So I wonder, school be okay with not do, like the mayor just said, not changing the world and seeing how things go?
We're perfectly fine. Like he said, we are making more room on our property. We're making as much preparation as we possibly can. Anything that you all do is just a bonus. And so, but if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen.
If we didn't mess with that traffic pattern, other than saying when you come out of the school, you have to turn right, would that do the same thing?
It's kind, again, it's private drive. We can tell them to turn right, but if they don't want to, there's nothing much that we can do about it. Kind of like at Reading, we tell them to turn right. What they do is they kind of nose out and then make a U-turn on the highway and come back in.
Like Walmart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or JC.
Yeah, I mean, we can tell them to turn right.
Yeah.
Any other comments or questions?
The only thing I would add, and I was just doing some quick measurements, with just what the school system's doing, they're jumping to about 2,100 feet of queue space, up from about 1,400, give or take. So just a rough idea of how much they're adding on their side already.
And what did you think that the car volume increase would be?
Probably between 50 to 60%.
There you go. Matt, there you go. 50%.
And usually on the first.
14 to 21?
School, we're backed up all the way out to Walnut.
Yes.
So a 50% increase, guys are parking.
Is that faculty parking to the southwest of the building?
Southeast.
Is that faculty parking to the southwest of?
It's kind of a free-for-all, to be honest with you.
It's not in the queue space currently, right?
No, well, I think they're gonna have them all go to the southeast parking lot now, where the buses normally pick up.
Right.
I think they're gonna have them park all mainly over there,
I just,
and then we'll use the southwest parking for visitors.
gotcha.
And Tim, that's a good point. You talk about backed up to Geyser though. nothing that you've proposed or that's been talked about adds queue space on the front end
That's true.
on the
The end of
city
the,
side.
the end of the queue will continue to grow.
Yeah, it'll just be on the,
Yeah.
we would be adding to the exit part, but the front end of it would just be what you guys have done by cutting out the curbs.
Yeah, we're hoping to load and unload about 20 cars all at the same time, get those 20 out, and get 20 more loading and unloading at the same time.
And basically what we did is double the number of cars that can load at one time.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that'd be more exiting traffic.
And that exit absolutely has to, it's got to get out of the way before anybody else can pull into queue as well, so.
That's why we're asking for the flow from you guys.
Right.
Anybody want to make a motion?
For what?
Come on, committee head.
Seth's over there scrunching his eyebrows at us.
I don't even know what we're doing.
Well, we talked about it may be a temporary fix, that may not be a temporary fix. So it sounds like, do we just go with Chad marking that up and so we don't have to make an ordinance and change something again and just come back and?
Chad marking it up like this, or Chad marking it up just like closing roads?
Just by closing roads. I mean, that seemed like the simple fix for now. Seemed like,
That's only available though when there's construction in the area. There's not currently any right there.
Chad, you got some potholes or something to do over there, bud? Oh, that'd make it easy, wouldn't it? All right, so, Mayor?
You guys tell me what you want to do. I mean, the way I see it, you got three options. You go with the ordinance as is, which it creates you're closing a block of road. You modify it to be a one-way, or your third option is you table it for reevaluation later.
And that still allows,
The school to do what they
Yeah, I mean, the
want
school's
with
doing
trying to
their
encourage
piece of
the
it
right
already.
turns. And
They're, so I mean, but it's up to you guys. We will,
okay,
our side of things, we'll figure it out when you tell us what we need to do.
okay.
Potentially in 2 to 3 months, parents might get tired of bringing their kids to school and force them on the buses.
Yeah,
And then we don't have a problem anymore.
yeah. Or they may close school.
Absolutely.
So, okay, so then,
I like Keith's optimism.
so then I would ask that we table this, this ordinance until we notice any.
I'm here tonight as long as you need.
second,
Mr. Story?
Yes.
Mr. Cunningham?
yes.
Mr. Wheeler?
Yes.
Mr. Hackney?
Yes.
Mr. Davidson?
Yes.
Mr. Early?
yes.
Wow, thanks, Chris.
Looks like ordinance number 21, Council Bill number 40 has been tabled with a vote of 6-0 and can be reviewed later.
I don't have any other new business, but I would just want to say special thanks there to Chris for all of her work.
All
And
your
Bernie.
stuff we threw out.
Bernie, thanks. Keith, you as well.
Mr. Cunningham?
Any new business?
No.
Mr. Wheeler?
No, I do not.
Mr. Hackney?
No.
Mr. Davidson?
I do. I'm going to ask that Resolution 22, Council Bill 41 be read by title only.
Second.
Mr. Story?
Yes.
Mr. Cunningham?
Yes.
Mr. Wheeler?
Yes.
Mr. Hackney?
Yes.
Mr. Davidson?
Yep.
Mr. Early?
Yes.
Resolution number 22, Council Bill number 41. Resolution of the Common Council of the City of Seymour, Indiana, approving a tax abatement for Thormax Properties LLC for real estate improvements to be located at 101 West Laurel Street, Seymour, Indiana, 47274.
All right, this was we approved the statement of benefits earlier for Thormax. This is just the tax abatement resolution for the real estate improvements at 101 West Laurel Street in Seymour. Any questions from the council? Questions from the audience? Okay, seeing no questions, I'm going to ask that we approve what is it, Resolution 22, Council Bill 41.
Second.
Mr. Story?
Yes.
Mr. Cunningham?
Yes.
Mr. Wheeler?
Yes.
Mr. Hackney?
Yes.
Mr. Davidson? Mr. Early?
Yes.
Resolution 22, Council Bill number 41, passes July 27th at 7:55 PM and signed by me as mayor, Matt Nicholson.
All right. I'd like to introduce resolution, actually, I would ask that Resolution 23, Council Bill 42, be read by title only.
Second.
Mr. Story?
Yes.
Mr. Cunningham? Mr.
Yes.
Wheeler?
Yes.
Mr. Hackney?
Yes.
Mr. Davidson?
Yep.
Mr. Early?
Yes.
Resolution number 23, Council Bill number 42. Resolution of the Common Council of the City of Seymour, Indiana, approving a tax abatement for Thormax LLC for qualified personal property.
All right, once again, it was the extension of the statement of benefits for the tax abatement for the personal property. I believe it takes their employees from 4 to 8. Have any questions from the council? Questions from the audience? Seeing no questions, I'm going to ask that we make a motion to approve Resolution 23, Council Bill 42.
Second.
Mr. Story?
Yes.
Mr. Cunningham?
Yes.
Mr. Wheeler?
Yes.
Mr. Hackney?
Yes.
Mr. Davidson?
Yes.
Mr. Early?
Yes.
Resolution number 23, Council Bill number 42, it passes 6-0 on the 27th of July at 7:56 PM, signed by me as mayor.
I have no new business.
Mr. Early?
No.
Okay, on to miscellaneous. Any miscellaneous business from the council?
I have one.
Fire away.
It's been brought to my attention that Vestlage Road, between 2nd and 6th, all of Vestlage Road is no parking zone. The code enforcement officer, Kelly Pfeiffer, had talked to me a little bit about, he's noticing lots of violations there, but it's not something that can currently be enforced. Because it is not signed and, or marked. So I was wondering, Mayor, a committee discussion, is that an issue that goes to committee?
Well, a quick glance at the parking schedule shows Vestlage Road, both sides is no parking from 2nd to Westgate.
And
then from the north line of section 1 to the road's northern terminus.
And I think that it's being interpreted the northern terminus is 6th Street.
6th Street?
But I'm not
Okay.
sure that when that was written, that was the northern terminus.
Well, and that's what I'm not sure how far it went in 1969, so
Yeah.
a little before my time.
What's the code
Dave?
on that? So what's the code on that? I was gonna look at that.
It'd be under the parking schedules.
What did they do when you were a kid?
Hey, Dave, was
Chapter
that,
75.
was that no parking when you were a kid?
We rode bicycles. Who had a car back then?
I grew up in the wrong time, dude. As far as the no parking signs, it's just a matter of, we can send it to DPW. I don't think you actually need to, because it's already in the book. We'll just have to go down through there and see what's. Now, my question becomes, is that whole section in front of your house, do you see that side as no parking also, where it widens out?
You know, I'm not sure. That,
Number of people parked there over the years, though.
Yeah, I mean, that's,
Yeah.
thinking about it, I usually pass a car or two when I'm down through there, so.
and that's where Kelly has noticed lots of people parking in that section. You couldn't park on,
No, down there by Westgate.
yeah, you couldn't park
No,
south
the
of
other
Westgate.
section's too narrow, for
It's way
sure.
too narrow.
Once you got a sidewalk to
from-
park on, you've got room.
Stadium South.
Stadium
Yeah.
South, you're not wide enough. From Stadium North,
Yeah.
you may be wide enough to still keep parking on the one side.
And I just wonder, is it a modification that,
If you just want signs put up, then no, it's not a modification. But if you want to reevaluate that, then yeah, we need to go to committee for you guys to look at it.
which committee?
Thoroughfare.
Okay,
You.
okay,
You and your property.
yeah.
On Vestlage, if there's something there, we don't have room to put no parking signs. We could put no parking signs and all kinds of different signs everywhere. People aren't gonna see these signs, it's like different color signs. Like if that is to be approved for no parking along Vestlage or something like that,
I would probably request paint on curb or something like that, rather than.
There's also no curb down through there.
Where in distance are we talking about?
Good question. Where we're talking about is where it gets wide. So,
Up there.
not
On the northern end?
that's correct.
Yeah.
Because on our southern end, there are signs there already.
Yep, yep.
I mean, like I said, we can send it to committee if you guys want to review it.
Yes, please.
Congratulations, Drew, you bought yourself more work.
Drag me along with you.
Yeah.
What the heck, Jay?
Any other miscellaneous from the council? I'm laughing, but I gotta make a note of that or I'll forget to tell you tomorrow. Vassalage, no parking. Okay, any miscellaneous from city employees? One of you.
Just for the record, I was just driving Lynn Street. If we put significant cars on Lynn Street, you might want to think about putting a stop sign at McDonald's. McDonald's currently through, so if you have a lot of people backing up on Lynn Street trying to get the kids home, I don't know, I'm not sure who would take left turns, but the left turns would kind of back up.
Gentlemen in the second row, would you guys keep an eye on that the first couple weeks of school with your extra detail?
Whereas McDonald's not typically a
Thank you.
highly traveled road.
It is one of our, it does look like a.
Well, flying up, but I mean, as far as one after another.
So where are we on Sixth Street?
They're
It's
gonna-
in your hands, I think.
Yeah, they're gonna,
No. We're tabling it.
sixth grade center didn't get anything wrote up, Chad. It's going with school's piece. Mr. Fosbrink? Dan? The lovebirds in the back? Thank you again for coming to date night. We hope it was at least entertaining. And last but not least, January? Okay. Linda, thank you for being here. You sped things up tremendously.
Yeah, thanks.
We'll let Darren notice that.
Hopefully he's watching at home. All joking aside, motion to adjourn?
So move.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Meeting is adjourned.